Hello everyone, Chris McCarthy here. We are a week on from pre-season testing in F2 and now just a week away from the first round over in Bahrain. And in this video, I'm going to go through the 5 things I think we can take away from last week's pre-season test in Bahrain. First up then, Carlin look like serious contenders. Now, this wasn't a surprise to me going into that test and this season overall. I believe their driver lineup of Liam Lawson and Logan Sargeant is arguably the best on the grid. Liam Lawson, a proven race winner in F2 and did fantastic things in DTM last year as well, with the backing of Red Bull, of course. Logan Sargeant as well took a Charouz car, which shouldn't have been anywhere near the front really on paper, and took it all the way to the top and had an absolutely fantastic season. So, brilliant driver lineup and a brilliant test for them overall. They were the only team to have 2 cars inside the top 5. When all the times were combined across all 3 days, Liam Lawson was quickest by 0.4 of a second. Logan Sargeant was then in 5th. Both their 1 lap pace and their race pace seem very, very quick. Now, Carlin, despite their history and all the drivers they've had with them, they've never won a title in F2 or GP2. They have come very close though. Lando Norris was vice champion back in 2018. And this season, I really do believe, after what we saw in Bahrain, they could go one better. Next up then, we are yet to see every single team at their best. Now, this was heavily influenced by the fact that we had that final afternoon session on day 3 cancelled due to the sandstorm that hit the Bahrain circuit. Looking at the overall times, which I've put all together, Dennis Hauger and Juri Vips, 2 drivers out of the top 10. And I don't think Prema or Hitech will be concerned about this. Most of the fastest times came day 2 in the afternoon. That was bar Jehan, Daruvala. Every single person in the top 10 overall, their fastest time was on day 2 in the afternoon, except for Daruvala. Now, in that session, not every driver was at their best. Bar the 2 I just mentioned, Marcus Armstrong, Ayumu Uwasa and Clement Novalak, just a handful of other drivers who weren't pushing at their best. And I believe that is why we haven't seen every single person at their best just yet. Day 3 really robbed us of seeing perhaps the likes of Dennis Hauger and Juri Vips and more really going for it. And Vips was the one I certainly was most interested in seeing. So we haven't seen every single team at their best, and that makes the first round even more exciting. Point number 3 then, very much a carry on of point number 2. Hitech race pace looking strong. Now, if you were watching my daily reviews, one of the things I mentioned on day 3 was that the day 3 morning session was the quickest across all 3 days. And that morning session was used for race runs. Now, the only team that didn't seem to do that on day 3 was MP Motorsport. They had their drivers 1 and 2 at the very top, with Felipe Drugovich going fastest. So if we take them out the equation, the fastest driver after that was Juri Vips for Hitech. And as I mentioned earlier, he wasn't in the top 10 overall with all the times put together, but it seems that his race pace is possibly the fastest at the moment. So I consider him a very strong contender going into this season. If you look at the times, some people would suggest otherwise, but for me, his race pace is very quick, believe me. Okay, next then, Ralph Boschung continues good form after strong end to the season. Now, Ralph Boschung's been a name that's been featured in F2 for the last few seasons. Now, he's not always done full campaigns. He did a full campaign last year with Campos, who he's been with for the past couple seasons. And he got 2 podiums in the last 2 rounds. That seems to have given him a surge of confidence, which he had never had before in F2. And he ended that pre-season test in Bahrain 3rd overall. So a hugely impressive test for him. He looks like he's, as I've already mentioned there, carrying a lot of confidence, and who knows, could be a bit of a dark horse going into this season. He's going to be joined by FIA F3 race winner Ollie Caldwell. So a good teammate for Ollie, and together they could make it a great combination as we get later into the season. I'm going to end finally with day 2. Proved this will be a close run season. season. I said it in my F3 roundup that that's going to be a close season. I don't see any reason why F2 won't be the same. Now, although Lawson was comfortably quickest, as I mentioned, by 0.4 of a second, behind that on day 2, where all the other quickest times came in, it was very, very close. Just half a second between Boschung in second and Halgett in 14th. On day 2 in that afternoon session. They were times were comfortably quicker than last year's pole time. So, you know, very, very high base overall. No one really seems to be getting left behind, which, you know, we've seen a couple of times in recent seasons with some of the drivers that have been sort of tailing towards the back end. That doesn't seem to be the case this year. Chen Bollock-Basie, some questioned his inclusion in the championship. Even he looked really quick, looks like he could challenge for points. And Jake Hughes has really helped Van Am Sport Racing get up to speed quickly. So I don't think there's going to be anyone tailing around at the back on their own. I think this is going to be closely run from the top to the bottom. To quickly go through the top 10 overall, it was Lawson, Daruvala, Boschung, Theo Pourchaire, Logan, Sargeant, Jack Doohan, Marino, Sato, Virtuosi, they're 6th and 7th. Then Frederik Vesti, then Felipe Drugovich for MP, then Richard Verschoor putting Trident in the top 10. 7 different teams in the top 10 and 19 different drivers in the top 10 across all 3 days. So if that doesn't say it's going to be a close run season, I don't know what will. But that is my summary of the F2 test we had in Bahrain. Give the video a like and do subscribe to the channel, because next week I'm going to be putting out season previews for both FIA F3 and FIA F2. Thank you very much for watching.